and our social media pages. I request everyone to put their phones on silent mode during the event. I request our honorable guests to please stand up as our colleagues from IDA and WRI India will be felicitating them. So I will request Kabeshi and Mr. Maswik to come forward and felicitate our guests. Now I would like to invite Dr. O.P. Agarwal to deliver the welcome address. Dr. Agarwal is the CEO of WRI India. He served as a member of the IAS from 1979 to 2007, during which he held several positions with the state government of Assam and the central government. I am sure he has some fond memories of his time here and will give us insight of the progress the state has made over the years. At WRI India, he leads the organization's ongoing efforts to strengthen the work around space, environment, climate, landscape, restoration, water, and government engagement. Sir, over to you.
My dear friend and ex-colleague, Neeraj Verma, Mr. Kumar, who is now the Secretary for Power, our colleague from the Assam Energy Development Agency, all of you present here. Very, very warm welcome on behalf of myself, on behalf of WRI India, on behalf of IDA, taking that liberty of extending that. Coming back to Assam, I've, out of the about 28 years that I've spent in the IAS, about 14 or 15 years that I spent in Assam, anytime I come back, it sort of raises very fond memories. It's always a pleasure to come back here, meet old friends, see old places. So happy it's changed a lot, but always happy to see the way it has been going. So coming back, it is really a kind of a homecoming to me. I've had a really very pleasant time. Perhaps one of the most difficult times when I was here, but the agitation was at its peak, terrorism was at its peak. But today it's very nice to see the way the state has developed. But that was a little bit of a background. I would have loved to speak in Assamese today, but many here may not understand. A lot of my colleagues will not understand. My Assamese has also become a little rusty, so that's why I'm taking the, sticking to English where I'm a little more comfortable now. But with that welcome, just a word that I wanted to mention from my own experience of why I feel that a tool like the Energy Access Explorer is extremely important. I'm going to say it in very simple layman's terms. When I was here posted in the district and subdivision, when anything had to be located somewhere, where do you build something? Where do you set up something? Decisions are all taken on the basis of who made the demand the loudest. It was all about which MLA or which BDO or which other agency made the loudest demand. And based on that, you decided where to set it up. Now, that's not a scientific way of deciding. So the best way to decide is, can we use data to tell us which is the best place where you can set it up? And then if there are any complaints or anything of that sort, why you decided that place, there is a scientific basis for that. That really was the purpose behind developing an Energy Access Explorer. What this does is, helps in deciding where you would locate solar facilities, for example, where you would locate renewable energy facilities, You'll see a more detailed presentation on this from my colleague, Aksha. Okay, so I don't know who of you is going to be making this, but oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. So usually a detailed presentation, they know much more than I do. But what I understand in the layman's terms is, here is something that is going to tell me which location will get us the best value. Where will the best outcomes come from? Where is it most, efficient to set it up? So tool of that sort, in my mind, when I think of my days long, long ago in the districts and subdivisions, decision becomes so scientific, decision becomes so much easier. So this is what I have understood as what the tool is for these days. Now, I'm really happy that many of you are here. I'm particularly happy that Mrs. Bernali Dekka is also here. It's a pity that you were not able to join us. I believe there was some difficulty, but really nice that you were able to join us online. And I look forward to the discussion. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. So I'll go ahead now to keep the flow intact. I would like to call upon Mr. Bharat Jairaj to give a brief introduction of the EAE platform. Bharat Jairaj is the Executive Director of the Energy Program at WRI India, a program which seeks to inform and catalyze India's transition to clean energy and through increased use of renewable energy and energy efficiency. He is a senior associate with WRS Governance Center and co-leads the Global Electricity Governance Initiative. Requesting him to come up on stage.
We add my welcome to all of you, particularly to Mr. Neeraj Verma, Rakesh Kumar, Nali Dekha, Dr. Opi, Dr. Chaudhary, and to all our distinguished guests here. We are really glad to launch Energy Access Explorer in Assam. As Abdul just mentioned, our work really has been to try and inform and support India's clean energy transition. We all know about the ambitious goals that the government of India has set for all of us. But when we do this while promoting equitable development throughout the country. Why is the development aspect equally important? Because if you all look at the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals that we as a global community have taken on, there are 169 individual Sustainable Development Goals we have committed to. Of that, 125 of them are interconnected with energy. In other words, they assume the availability of energy. And by this, I mean water supply, healthcare facility, education, safety, security. All of these are assumed the availability of energy. And as we know, this is not necessarily the case all the time. Of course, this is because it's not just the technology piece, which we were just talking about a little earlier, that India has seen the world has seen so much advancements in renewable technologies, but additionally, this needs to go hand in hand with policies and with finance. And underlying all of this is, of course, data. The availability of robust, timely, and reliable data. We believe that better data helps in making better decisions and more targeted outcomes. And as researchers, we have struggled with data. It's one of our biggest challenges, just accessing reliable data. But this is not unique to researchers. Last week, some of us were in Rajasthan, and a very senior bureaucrat at that meeting told us that even in this position, he struggles to access data. And he said, I sympathize with you researchers trying to access data. That said, I'm glad Assam Cabinet has approved the Assam State Data Policy of 2022 to improve data access, its utilization, and ensuring efficient delivery of services, which will lay the foundation for data-driven governance and policy. It's a very welcome step towards evidence-based decisions. So this brings us then to the Energy Access Explorer, which is really trying to visualize this data. And I'm very grateful we have Mr. Neeraj Verma, who's not just the Principal Secretary of Energy, as I learned, also has huge portfolios, including home and personal. And I'm very grateful he's here to and power. He's here to launch the Energy Access Explorer. I'm also grateful the Managing Director of the AP Discom is here because the Discoms really are the backbone of the energy sector, and it's very important that the energy transition is a win-win, not just for renewables or environment and so on, but also for Discoms and other key stakeholders. The Energy Access Explorer, I think we already mentioned sort of a very layperson's view on it. It was conceptualized to bring visibility to the invisible. In a sense, if we think back, there was a time when all that we knew about energy access and electricity access and so on, those were usually statistics or they were in tables. What we have done, what we are trying to do is use GIS to help locate these gaps, to plan so that we can plan better solutions to fill these gaps. And since EAE is designed as a temporal tool and platform, you can also track these changes over time. And we have also deliberately not looked at household electrification. We have also deliberately not looked at household electrification because, as we know, in India, we have made rapid strides towards household electrification. And instead, we chose to focus on some of the other areas which we will talk about today, how energy access, what the Energy Access Explorer can do to help fill gaps, particularly in the healthcare sector, livelihoods, education, and so on. With this brief introduction, let me again welcome all of you, and I now hand this back to Dr.
Thank you, Bharat, for the great introduction. Now it's my pleasure to invite Shri Neeraj Verma to come forward and do the honor of launching the Energy Access Explorer for the state of Assam. Mr. Neeraj Verma, IAS, is the Principal Secretary of the Government of Assam Home, Power and Personal Department since November 2018. Sorry. He joined the IAS in 1994 as a part of Assam Regular Cadre. He worked in various fields in the districts of North Kachar Hills, Nagaon, Golpara, Sibsagar, and as district magistrate in Dibrugarh. Many of the districts at the time of also insurgency affected areas. He also held a number of challenging and respectable positions like MD of Assam Industrial Development Corporation Limited, MD of Entron, Project Director for Assam Agricultural Competitiveness Project, etc. Sir, I would kindly request you to please do the honors. So you can. So just click it once. Thank you, sir.
This affects the delivery of important services like 3.5 billion people lack access to reliable electricity across the world. 6 out of every 10 people living in India receive less than 20 hours of power a day.
Sorry about that. There seems to be a malfunction. Just a moment, please.
it?
3.5 billion people lack access to reliable electricity across the world. 6 out of every 10 people living in India receive less than 20 hours of power a day. This affects the delivery of important services like healthcare and education, especially for people in remote areas of India. Reliable electricity is crucial to reduce poverty, provide better health, education, and to achieve sustainable development goals. Understanding where to prioritize the expansion of reliable electricity services requires improved granular data, analytics. To that end, we introduce the Energy Access Explorer, EAE, which adopts an integrated data-driven approach to powering development. EAE is an online, open-source, interactive platform that compiles and analyzes electricity and development data in selected states of India. The platform aids planners and decision-makers to visualize unmet and undermet electricity demands for institutions and prioritize associated interventions. It also summarizes the status of energy access and development for the areas that you're interested in. Lastly, EAE attempts to provide latest data by tracking key performance indicators by collating this data on a common platform to support integrated and holistic decision-making.
So the Energy Access Explorer is a very useful online platform that links developmental data with energy access data. The value it brings is it's able to identify energy access gaps which are constraining development. In a policy-making level or a planning level, it helps identify the locations where we need to invest in energy access. It's a very useful tool for developmental purposes. I'm really proud of my team that has worked on this. It has been a rather tough exercise, but a very, very valuable one.
Visit www.energyaccessexplorer.org to know how better data can support accessible, reliable, and affordable energy for all.
Sorry about the minor details. So thank you for launching the platform. Sir, now I'd like you to just come up and deliver the keynote.
इसको वहाँ पे कनेक्ट करने के लिए कौन कोई आएगा मुझसे इसके बाद लेना नहीं इसके इनके बाद
Good morning, respected OP Agarwal sir. I worked under him and I have very fond memories of past many years. I'm very proud to have him amongst us, especially as CEO of WRI India. Sir, thanks a lot for inviting me. I also, amongst us present is Rakesh, MD, APDCL, Dr. Bindal, who is Director ADA, Bernali Deka from Kokraja, she's online, and participants, officers from WRI, ADA, and various other organizations. So I was just looking at the presentation of Energy Access Explorer, and the first thing which came to my mind is that we are doing a Government of India project of RDSS, and our attempt is to provide quality assured power supply in both urban and rural area. In urban area, it should be 23 years, hours. In rural India, it should be 21 hours. And first use of this EAE would be to get these demands, get the data and help in decision making. But second is to revalidate our claim that whether we are providing this much power or not. And it will help us immensely in our mid-course correction and achieve the target and at the end. Because this is, I think, open access and it is probably anybody can access it and pose their requirements. So it is going to be more like a crowdsourcing. It is going to be very helpful for us. I was also discussing with CEO and the officers, and we were discussing about the various aspects of renewable energy in Assam. So I would like to focus on that, highlight our progress. As you know, the main distribution company, the only one distribution company in Assam is APDCL, and APDCL is providing power to all of us. The requirement is more than 2,400 megawatt. Our own generation is 300 megawatt minus solar power generation. So the first thing which is to be noted is that we have a huge dependence on central PSUs for our power generations, and we have to sign PPAs with them, and most of them are fossil based. Cost of power is immense. It is more than, it's approximately 5 rupees. Secondly, we have renewable power obligations, and as per that, we have to have a percentage of our power generation, power consumption as solar power consumption and renewable power consumption. If we don't do that, then we have to pay penalties. And in last few months, Assam was barely able to meet the requirement, and many a times we had to pay penalty. It is in this context our endeavor for renewable energy has taken shape. We had also got some other consultants, GIZ and ICF had helped us in studying the model, and they said that not only through renewable energy you can generate more power and you can reduce the burden penalty of RPO, but also that it makes sense in the long run. And they two scenarios. One was business as usual, and second was SDG goals. If we meet SDG goal, what would happen? And third was if Assam decides to go 100% renewable, then what would happen? And it was very exciting because instinctively we feel that if it is renewable, then it is going to be costly. Fortunately, it is not that. It is that if we go 100% renewable, we would end up saving almost 10,000 crore, apart from some other energy saving technology to be adopted over the period of 10 years. And that sort of eye opens for us. We also looked at our potential, and in Assam we had various initiatives with MNRE, and we were not able to achieve much. Then we had tried through, we had 2-3 sites. We have 2 firms, one Jackson and another Azure, and 2 Jackson in IPP mode. At Amburi, we tried for 70 megawatt. And the first thing is that it was implemented in a very record time, less than a year. The project was up and running, and the cost is a levelized tariff, which is 3.8 rupees, 3.9 rupees, which is not much compared to the existing average cost of power. Similarly, Azure also, the cost of purchase was less than 4 rupees. The experience after that, we looked at the efficiency, we found that CUF of all these places were more than 20%, 22%. And hence, our strategy was to go big in solar sector. I'm happy to inform you that APDCL has tied up for solar power generation up to 3,000 megawatt in Assam. 1,000 megawatt for which ADB, it would be ADB funded project. DA has already approved the project and land has been identified. These land are free from encumbrances. There are condition precedents already met, no environment issues. So once the agreement is signed, this project can be implemented in 1.5 to 2 years time. Secondly, we also have joint venture with two firms. First, we have signed joint venture with NLC to set up 1,000 megawatt, where NLC will be 51% in shareholder and we will be 49%. So that way, we will have the benefit of expertise of NLC and we can leverage that for power generation. Third is with SGVN. Again, we have approved signing of 1,000 megawatt. So 3,000 megawatt, the areas where we are confident that we can get good efficiency in getting this power generation to solar means. And also we have got land and low-lying areas, which includes wheel or water bodies where we can have floating solars. This in a way will enhance our generation profile. It will also help us in meeting the RPO obligation and the target of national target of 175 megawatt will be able to achieve a large part of it, some part of it. Apart from that, I would say that we are looking at other opportunities, which includes setting up of pumped storage plant, and there are interest of investors even in joining this. Then the efficiency, energy efficiency, and energy audit is another area where Assam is doing well. I want to inform you that Assam is now one of the leading states in implementing smart meter, and we are confident that in 1.5 to 2 years we will have all the 68 lakh consumers covered under smart meters. So I'm sure that with this background and the fact that all three utilities in Assam are doing well, they have made operating profit last financial year, and I'm sure that this year they will make actual profit. The net worth has also improved. So with this base, I think Assam is now ready for value addition, and it is where the organization like WRI can join hand with us for a win-win situation. We are looking at energy forecast, where are the gaps, how we can reduce that gaps, how we can improve our project management and improve the profitability in return. But at the end of the day, it is all what I started my speech about, that we want to provide assured quality power supply for 22 to 23 hours in both urban and rural Assam. Assam has covered this household, 100% is electrified, and with this objective, I think that the Explorer, which we have inaugurated today, the purpose of that will be served. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your deep dive into the power sector and related to the platform. I would like to invite now Ms. Varnali Dekar to enlighten us about India's Energy Vision 2047 and how the data-driven approach can support us. Ms. Varnali Dekar, IAS, is Deputy Commissioner of Kokrajhar District Government of Assam. She also holds the position of Director, Bodoland Administrative Staff College and Secretary, Bodoland Territorial Council. She is an IAS officer of 2009 Assam Meghalaya Carter batch. She was previously in the 2007 IPS batch. She also served as Deputy Commissioner for Golpara, Golaghat, and Barpeta districts of Assam, besides heading flagship missions like Assam Skill Development Mission, Assam State Rural Livelihood Mission, and Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban as Mission Director. She also held a number of prestigious postings like Vice Chairman, CEO, GMDA, Executive Director, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Secretary, Health Secretary, Urban Development, etc. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Respected Dr. O.P. Agarwal sir, respected Principal Secretary Neeraj Verma sir, Rakesh Kumar sir, Shri Minal Chaudhary, and other respected members of the dais, all the organizers present here, and members of the audience. I would like to thank WRI and AEDA for this opportunity to present here today. Before I proceed, I just wanted to find out if could somebody confirm if my slides are changing. Can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, thanks so much. So actually, I was making the PPT last night and I got a little carried away and I made a number of slides, but I'll try to rush through it very quickly because everybody has been keeping it very concise. So this is the brief schematic of the presentation. I'll be talking about India's Energy Vision 2047. What are the transitioning challenges from independence to net zero? And since I've also been talked about data-driven governance, data-driven decision-making, I would like to give a couple of examples from the field, how data-driven governance has been helping in various areas and the data-driven approach to net zero. We are all aware that during his address, Independence Day address from the ramparts of Red Fort, Honorable Prime Minister has set a new target for India becoming energy independent by 2047. And the whole idea is how to go about it. So I'm actually a member of this Vision India 2047 group, which is headed by Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala, and it is a sector that combines academia. We have professors from the IITs, we have IS officers, and we have entrepreneurs in the energy sector, some of them seeded and some of them upcoming. And so I'll be sharing some of the ideas and some of the outcomes that we have generated in this group. Broadly, I would be doing that. And what we have seen is that we do need a convergence of technological innovations, policy interventions, and various implementation strategies. I'll go straight to the technology part. So these are some of the sectors that we feel that are easier to replace. Probably it's easier to do this. It is easier to achieve net zero. It is easier to achieve independence. It is easier to achieve cleaner energy sources in sectors like transportation, power generation, agriculture, construction, municipal solid waste to energy. And at the same time, probably industrial and long-haul air travel would be something harder. These are some of we have divided the technologies that we require, that India requires to go from energy dependence to energy independence, from becoming a net, we spend about 12 lakh crore rupees every year on energy purchase. So how do we go from that to becoming energy independent? So some of the short-term R&D areas that entrepreneurs can think of, areas that academia needs to think of, research needs to be done on, are battery and thermal storage, because already a lot of research on clean energy has been done in these areas. We have easy to install solar panels, heat pumps. Heat pump is a concept because I think most of the audience belongs to the energy sector. Heat pumps is a concept we all know of, and it is proven to be a much more efficient means of cooling or heating than air coolers or room heaters. Offshore wind turbines. In the medium term, we could think of water splitting technologies. Cummins has already come out with a fuel agnostic engine. I think a number of us may be aware of that. Solar wall paints. And in the longer term, we could think of, nanophonics, we could think of tidal power generators and so on. So these are probably some of the technologies that we could focus on for net zero at 2070 and energy independence at 2047. These are some more points that I would like to discuss, but I don't have too much time, so I'll just pick out a few of them and speak on these. I think Rakesh sir is there. So I'll start with the DISCOM. The DISCOM currently needs probably to be thought of more elaborately to achieve our 2047 goals. What about carbon taxation and carbon auditing in the Indian scenario? At present, we do have a coal cess, but does this put the balance of emissions on all the sectors uniformly? For example, coal cess may work for certain sectors like transport or power generation, but what about agriculture? What about animal husbandry? R&D funds, where do we focus on R&D funds, on how do we channelize these R&D funds to receive the desired results at the pinpointed times? Skill, because as we transition from non-renewable sources to renewable sources, we need a significant change in the skill sets of our workers from non-renewable to renewable. We need a highly skilled manpower. So we have to change, so we have to bring those changes in place now. PLI has already been introduced by Government of India for solar and wind. So this is another way forward that the government is taking up. Of course, avoidance offset. Avoidance offset is like, a company in the private sector, as we go further on, as we start taxing our emissions, a company may offset the greenhouse emission by planting a forest, and at the same time, it may perhaps show an offset by showing that it has paid a transport or it has paid a company not to cut down forests. So the two offsets are, the impact of these two offsets are very different. So how do we track avoidance offsets? And as Mosfik has asked me to speak on data-driven decision-making, I'll quickly share the next few slides on data-driven decision-making. So this is DDG that I first worked on was in the aspirational districts program. I have been in the field in the last few years, and this is where we were doing data-driven governance, data-driven decision-making very extensively. In fact, I have worked with WRI and we have tried to map our the health sector data to the transport sector data with WRI. So basically data-driven governance in the field that I have worked on, it impacts 49 of the KPIs under the aspirational district program. And what the government has been doing for these districts is that there are 49 KPIs, there are 80 data points, and these key performance indicators are monitored, some on a daily basis, some on a weekly, some on a monthly, some on a quarterly, and some on a yearly basis. And I would just like to share a couple of success stories on how data-driven governance has helped us in the field. And then I'll end with how data-driven governance could be mapped onto net zero. So in terms of us in the field, what we had was a very robust kind of a monitoring dashboard, and which gave us as district collectors, it gave us the tools for data analysis at our fingertips. And these are some of the figures from Gwalpara. When I was DC Gwalpara, we were not able to show any progress in a number of key performance indicators under the basic infrastructure, the basic infrastructure vertical. And what we did is that to achieve 100% in two of the KPIs, we had gone for green technologies. And if you look down below on the bottom right side, you can see that from 2000 to 2018, we had constructed 534 kilometers of roads under Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. And in 2 years from 18 to 20, through use of green technologies, we could construct 530 kilometers of roads. And these kinds of interventions were made possible to us only because we had followed a completely data-driven approach under the aspirational districts program. So the whole idea of keeping it here and the idea of keeping the last few slides and this slide is that data-driven governance is a concept, data-driven decision-making is a concept that has been used, has been replicated already in various government sectors. Again, these are some of the possible areas of intervention. Could we, government has already opened out the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana data sets. Could we use these data sets in collaboration with academia, with entrepreneurs to do some planning and implementation of the existing resources? We know of COVID, we know of the devastation of COVID. So could we have edutech technologies to drop out for dropout prediction and so on? And so I'll just close with this slide. This slide is on how do we use data-driven governance in net zero and in energy independence. So something that really we feel that is required to be done is that we need to do a comprehensive analysis of the historical emission patterns, some end-to-end modeling of projected energy demand. And I would just like to show this Excel sheet here. I don't know if it is it visible to all? Is this fine, or should I zoom in a little more?
No, ma'am.
So I mean, the time is somewhat limited, but I'll just try to, this is something done by the experts at IIT, but since my topic is data-driven decision-making and data-driven approach, I would just like to, and Neeraj Verma sir has also talked about how do we shift 100% to various other technologies. So this is something that we had done with IIT Madras. These are the emissions in terms of tons of CO2. And year on year, we have taken a percentage of 4.6%, which is the worst case scenario, because it's an average across about 10 years of data. And
we cannot see the screen.
Yeah.
Then you can reshare the screen, probably.
Okay, I'll just do that one. Is it fine? It's an Excel sheet.
Yeah, that's visible. Thank you.
Yeah. So very quickly, I don't want to bore the people there, but this is something very interesting. So we had done this year-on-year data analysis on tons of CO2 emitted. And then we had taken the emission factor year-on-year as 4.6%, which is slightly on the more pessimistic side, but we've done that. And we come all the way down to 2032. And then assuming a cut of 20%, if we can do a cut of 20% to the 2022 levels at 2032, this is approximately the figure 4.16 10 to the power 12 exponential in terms of tons of CO2. And then what we have done on the right-hand side is the kind of solar, wind, and nuclear technologies. If we go for 100% solar, 100% wind, and 100% nuclear, what are the requirements? So this is what broadly it comes to. In terms of solar panel, this would be the requirement. In terms of wind, again, for wind, we have assumed a plant load factor only of about 25%, because in case of wind, the PLF is only about 30%. So this is the worst case scenario. So essentially, the whole point of showing this Excel sheet is just to show that, you know, how essential it is to have a data-driven approach when it comes to decision-making for net zero and for energy independence. And I think I'll close with that. It's sort of, you know, a very compressed kind of presentation, but that is all. And if there's any particular point that anybody likes to be answered, I can take it offline. Thank you so much.
So anybody who wants to go ahead with any questions, so we can go ahead, please. Probably no for the presentation. And if we have anything, we'll just keep it for the end part. Is it okay, ma'am? Yeah, fine. Yeah, the questions can be asked at the end. Thank you, ma'am, for the great presentation and for joining us online. So I would now like to invite Mr. Rakesh Kumar to speak a few lines on his reflections on the platform. Mr. Rakesh Kumar is currently the Managing Director of Assam Power Distribution Company Limited, with additional charge of Commissioner and Secretary to the Government of Assam, Fishery and Irrigation Departments. Under his leadership, APDCL has revamped and enhanced the financial strength of the district. Sir, yeah, you can come on.
Good morning, all.
Neeraj Verma sir has already, uh, presented the brief about the state energy scenario. So I will be just highlighting few issues. Being the MD of a discom company, discom, what I have this one observed during last almost 1 year. So there are basically 4 to 5 issues which are in transition and which we are facing and which will have a long-term impact on the energy sector of the state. Sir has already told that the Assam is a peculiar case as far as the energy demand and supply is concerned. So there is a huge gap between the supply and demand. So our in-house generation is only 25% of our demand, and the demand is growing exponentially. You know that uh, we have touched 2,500 megawatt during the last week, and it's going to cross 3,000 megawatt in the coming season. So the demand is going like anything, but our supply side is we are a bit tight because not much generation in pipeline. But sir has told that 3,000 megawatt of renewable power is coming up. Uh, that's this one of the bold steps taken by state government. Despite the fact that this energy will be available only during day hours. So what about after 5 o'clock? So we have to think about that aspect also, that what will happen from 5 o'clock to 12 or 1 o'clock, because the commercial activities in the city are growing like anything, and nightlife is extended till 2 o'clock in the night. So that remaining 8 hours we have to see that also. Secondly, there are several different new different talks are in circulation, like the pump storage and the battery storage and all that. But nothing much has been done in that field. But still, we are hopeful that under these projects, we will do something at storage, at least this one for solar storage. So, but again, the battery and all that aspects and the battery life and then the carbon that will be invested in making those batteries and then the disposal of those batteries, because the life is very, that very small of those batteries and the replacement operating cost and all that. So a lot of issues are there as far as storage is concerned. State is specific, that despite being the water surplus and a lot of water, but the water is not available for power generation. It's a valley state, so not much hydel project are this one feasible in this state. So only few mini hydel projects we can think about. So hydel is also a constraint for the state, and thermal, of course, is not the trend. And this one, there's a lot of issues for this one with thermal, whether it is gas based or coal based. So both are not a good option for the state economically as well as environmentally. So what can be the this one option? So like in other this one European countries and everywhere, so people have the choice because we have to differentiate the demand basically. So if we go for the rooftop solar or like the mini grid concept, so that can be a good option. And with the new concept of the distribution franchise with the union government is going to introduce. So the discounts will be again under the burden because the consumer will choose the operator, and we will be just left with the maintenance of the distribution lines. So either we have to improve our this one efficiency, or we will be just maintaining the lines. Someone else will be generating somewhere else, and someone else will be consuming, and will be transacting through online. And so these are several issues. There's a huge transition this one phase is going on. So I can only talk about as a discount this one manager. So these are the few challenges before us. So let's see how we will this one tackle this. And this is a good platform. So this energy explorer access will definitely help us, because still at this point of time we are not aware how much energy is being lost in the distribution and transmission. Though we are doing some calculation, these calculations are based on our meter reading uh, stored at the feeder level, DTR level, and at the grid level. But still, this one, the gaps are invisible, and we have to find those gaps, especially in the social sector. Government has taken a lot of steps. We have invested a lot in the electrification of schools and Anganwadis. Prior to last year, these were not there, and almost 80,000 schools and Anganwadis. So these are the two basic social sector foundations. So we have made available electricity in those centers with the help of state government. So again, the reliability is the issue. So reliability, this one has several issues. Transmission constraints are there, and then the of-course generation constraints are there, and the demand is a bit, this one is skewed demand. It's not uniform demand. So there are issues, and this energy access program will help us to find out the basically the constraints. Where are the constraints, so that we can improve our this one infra, and we are able to provide the reliable power. So energy sector is such a vast subject. We can talk day long, but it's still will be this one not bit proper. So I will close here, and thank you very much for giving me opportunity. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for those insightful words. So now I'd like to call upon my colleague Akansha Saklani to come forward and give everyone a live demonstration of the EAE platform. Akansha is Program Manager in WR India and is leading the development of Energy Access Explorer platform in India. Over to you, Akansha. Please come on.
Hi everyone. I'm so glad to be presenting the Energy Access platform with you. And this work would not have been possible without the support of our partners, key stakeholders, and data providers. Let me just share my screen. How now? Can somebody tell me if you can see my screen?
Yes, it's visible on Zoom at least.
Thank you again for joining us, and this work would not have been possible. So why are we making Energy Access Explorer? So planning is very essential for matching demand and supply together, so that we can take cost-effective decisions. When we are doing planning, geospatial data becomes very important, because the data such as global horizontal areas, the location of schools, where are the transmission lines, and the road network is all geospatial in nature. And then incorporating this data allows us to have decentralized and cost-effective renewable energy production, which can be scaled up. And so what we have done, we have had lots of consultations, and we have gone through, had stakeholder meetings, and the reasons which we have created the platform are three basically. There are many platforms available, but we wanted to match energy supply and energy demand, so that evidence-based decisions can be taken. Then we wanted to reduce the reliability on GIS. Our different ministries, departments who have limited or no GIS capacity should be able to use the platform. Then we wanted to have an open source initiative, which can be further scaled up and reduces or minimizes the cost of development, software development. So let me tell it again that the tool is open source. The data, it's up to the data administrator if they want to put the data publicly or they want to have a credential, they can do that. So basically, EAE is what? EAE is a geospatial data platform which allows user to have the it synthesizes data at different sources and allows users to visualize data and do analysis on that. So EAE, as I said, is an open source interactive platform. It has different data. It has data on demographics, it has social data, it has productive data, it has data on supply and the resources. So we collect data from different sources, and then this data would not have been possible without the support of our partners and the data providers. So EAE enables us to visualize the data at the spatial temporal level. It integrates inclusive energy planning. It also allows institutions to prioritize which facilities should be electrified first. And it also allows you to estimate what is the energy need and how to calculate energy demands. I'll walk a little bit through the backend. So what we have done is we have our automated data processing, so that it requires just on a click of the cell, you can upload new data, change the data set. We have dynamic database, and every time there's a change, it is reflected on the platform. We have efficient data storage. We're using cloud for that. We have a customized content management system and which allows users to change the platform according to the geography. We have a variety of base map. One can see satellite data, one can see maps. We have a modular API which connects to give analysis on the fly. Presently, we have covered more than 32% of the population, which is more than 32% of the total unserved and underserved population. We started with the 3 countries and now the platform is at 14 geographies. We have more than 100 partners, stakeholders in partnership and more than 2,000 returning users. And I would like to say this would not have been possible without the partners, be it at local level, national level, and global level for the support. In terms of our sustainability plan, this is not the end of the platform. This is just starting. We are conducting the trainings, the workshops, we are providing the training materials, and we'll also be forming a GIS data working group which can help us give more data, and we'll also have a liaison sharing committee which will help us to decide where to go forward and how they can influence the decision going forward. With that, I'll start with the demo of the platform. So the screen. Right. So the platform has been launched online, and we have the platform for more than 9 countries now. So if we go to explore data, the data. So we have the. Okay. So for Assam, we have divided the data into the timelines, how the data is there. We have the data for energy demand. We have the data for energy supply. So the platform moves data at granular level and it has more than one data set. So we'll talk about, we have the data, say we have the location of power plant of coal, we have the location of power plant of gas. And you can also go and zoom in and see the location. So right now we are seeing the location, but when we add satellite data there, and we can zoom in and we can see if the particular facility is actually available on the ground or not. So we can see the location where and there's a facility available. And then you can click on it and it will give you the name and the capacity when the plant was built. And the plant, we can overlay other data sets in that, and let's overlay major roads, we can overlay minor roads, and you can change the background you want to visualize the data set. So I'll actually walk you through one of the functionalities which we have is for timeline, which allows you to track changes over time. And say, let's say institutional delivery. Institutional delivery is basically how much of the pregnant women are going to the hospitals, be it private or public hospital, to deliver the child. It becomes a cross-section study has said that if the hospital or health facility has electricity and water, more and more patients trust that facility and go for the institutional delivery. Government's Janani Suraksha Yojana says to push for 100% of institutional delivery. So the platform allows you to visualize the data and you can see the changes on the ground, how the data has been moving from one year to another year. So just to see if we are actually improving on our indicators. We can also see how a trend line, how one particular district has been doing. So when we click on Baksa, it will allow us to visualize the data, and it will also tell us if the data has been above the state level average value for the state or below the average value for the state. And we can go for another district as well. And with that, I'll go to another feature is the multi-criteria. Suppose we want to solarize the health facilities, which is or you want to solarize the schools. So if I want to solarize the secondary schools, I can see the location of the schools. And since we are doing solarization, global horizontal radiance, which is the amount of sunlight which is coming on the ground, is very important, and we can overlay the data. But when we overlay the data, we just see a map. But when we go to the analysis for this, we'll find out which are the areas which has the potential to be solarized, which has higher energy demand. And the platform also allows you to filter the criteria. Like literature says, if the value of global horizontal radiance is more than 1600 kilowatt per meter square per year, it gives you higher efficiency. So let's change the value. We see it has filtered the area. We can further filter the area to the proximity. So if I want to only look at the area which is near, say, 20 kilometers to the higher secondary school, the analysis will change. And we can see the change in the area and the change in the population share as well. So I would like to stop here on the platform, and I would like to hear reflections from few of our distinguished guests. Can I please start with Pawan Kumar, sir?
A few reactions from the Assam Financial Management Society. If we recall the discussions held during last course COP, they were discussing about financial management financing, one part, and then second part is supply chain emissions. So having solar energy, the way Rakesh said, is very fine. When, like he said, very aptly pointed out how to the supply chain emissions of manufacturing solar panels themselves, their longevity, and how what to do after 20-25 years when they don't, when they no longer function. And then the storage technology, the energy storage technology. I don't think the world has seen much progress in battery storage. We still use lead acid batteries, and dispensing them, recycling them is a big problem. So that's where further research needs to be done, and how to deploy this technology is also to be looked into. And then one point that the West constantly makes, even during our discussions with the French Development Agency government, they say that your usage of electrical vehicles or deployment of electricity-based vehicular technology doesn't mean that you shift your emissions. You are simply shifting your thermal emissions, shifting your vehicular emissions to your thermal emissions. Means ideally you would put some fuel, fossil fuel into the car, then generate emissions, and then you are saying now you are running it by battery. That battery gets charged using electricity that is generated by a thermal plant. Then you are simply shifting the loci of emission. You are not really contributing to reducing the emissions. So this also needs to be looked into. It's an evolving field, and we don't as yet know which is environment friendly technology, which is not, simply put. So several interesting observations by the speakers on the half, and these are my first reactions.
Can I ask Mr. PLM Raju sir to, since he's a GIS expert, to give his thoughts on the platform and the way forward?
Thank you, Madam. Wonderful speakers, Neeraj Verma, my old colleague. So we actually work on the use of the space technology. As Akansha mentioned, the geospatial technologies and space available main data source that we have. Then recently also last year when Veeradona was there looking after the science and technology, we also made so many proposals of the space technology. So one is a project on the wetland inventory of the whole Assam. So that the database is created, and then Brinal Krishna is also working on floating solar water, and it is also one of the alternative source of energy generation. And this database also can be integrated and finding out the suitable sites of these wetlands, water bodies, which can be utilized for expansion of this solar water cover. And then we, as a department of Assam State-Based Application Center, we generate the spatial databases of whole Assam of various databases, land use, land cover, land, and forestry, water resources, all the databases, and we have an energy explorer, we have launched now. So we can also start using this database generated latest information which is coming from the various sources. So we can also enable providing this source of information for further expansion of whatever the resource, the resource we wanted to generate. We will be happy to help the state government as well as your what energy explorer team wanted to utilize this for your own purpose.
I would like to ask Dr. Rebecca to share her thoughts.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to highlight more on the, after listening to such a promising speech from various speakers in the dais, especially as a beneficiary point of view, we are from the health sector, located in a very remote district in Assam, Silchar and Makunda. We have seen that the solar energy has been of great help, especially in the hospital where we required adequate and uninterrupted supply of energy. I like to explore more for the scope of scaling up even in other states where our hospitals are based. We have around about 20 hospitals across India. So in such difficult states like Uttarakhand, Uttaranchal, Chhattisgarh and Bihar, the units are there working in a very remote district. So I'd like to know the plan of WRI. We have planned to scale up in this area. And I would like to share that, it has benefited a lot, especially in the health services delivery system. Recently, I just like to highlight an example. During the flood seasons here in Assam, there in Alipur, our Kachar hospital was the referral point for many health problems. So because through this solar energy, we could manage to conduct many emergency operation, and even for the delivery, the hospital is in partnership with public-private partnership with NHM. So many institutional delivery was conducted. It's like 24/7 round-the-clock services was provided because of this solar energy. So looking into the benefit is our prayer and it's our hope that it will get scaled up even in other states of the Northeast. Really would like to congratulate Assam for being the first state to launch this. Looking forward to neighboring states like Nagaland, where I had worked there. It's a real challenge, even for Manipur and Mizoram. So I'm looking forward to the same kind of program, if it could be initiated there. And my request is, to sensitize people. I think if you also could organize a state level workshop for sensitization and for demand creation, I think that will be of great help. Thank you.
I would also like to request Mr. Rupa Goswami to share some words.
Yeah. Thank you all for the gift. And this, I believe, because I still have not actually gone to that route, to that explorer. I think we can now actually come to know what is the reality of the Assam power sector once we actually come to this launch. We would come to know actually what the government says and what is actually the reality on the ground. And this would now actually help the government now also in the future scenarios, actually, so as to how we can actually further improve the power. I think it's a great beginning, and some more work on this line would be very, very helpful. Thank you.
And now I would like one of our guests on online to share her thoughts. Ms. Pamli Deka, if you're there.
Hi, Akanksha. Thank you so much. I think I'll be brief, but first of all, congratulating WRI India and IDA for the successful launch of EAE. And I'm very grateful for being given this opportunity to share my thoughts in the midst of our senior experts, including Dr. O.P., Varnali Deka, ma'am, and Bharat Jairaj. So I'll just give a brief context. So currently I'm working with very closely with entrepreneurs and investors in the both equity and debt space to help finding funding for clean energy technologies in India and neighboring countries. Basically, what we are trying to do is we are trying to match the demand for funds to supply of funds. And in that context, I would like to share some comments on how the platform like EAE can help. So there are three or four points. First of all, I think the EAE can help in assessing the size of funding required to make the transition towards clean energy possible at the institutional level. Secondly, at a more advanced level, I feel that the platform right now, it can go much beyond solar to include the potential to adopt other technologies like biomass to energy. And this can be done for other states. So for example, right now we are working with 2 projects to find funding in Nagaland. They are in the bamboo space and mini grid space. I think going to other states, as was mentioned by Rebecca Madam in the past, along with the potential plus the funding requirement, that can be really useful. One developing space and one very important space to look into is the adaptation space. So particularly projects like in the aquaculture space, where Assam has a lot of potential, sustainable agriculture. So I think it can also, this platform can also show the opportunities for these kind of sectors. It will help entrepreneurs across the country to actually design the strategies for the state. And finally, given that I'm working in the investment space, I think this platform can become a means for investors to connect their investment plans for the demands for financing. I think it's a great platform overall, where I think, it can bring the think tanks, the government bodies, as we can see today in the audience, the private institutions and the private companies to come together in the clean tech sector and to work together. So these are the 3-4 points that I would like to highlight on. And again, thanks a lot for allowing me to share my comments.
I would like to open the floor for any question and answer regarding the platform which anybody has. Okay, in that case, I'll come down and I'll give it in the mic for Abdul.
Thank you for the presentation, Akanksha, and thank you everyone for giving your thoughts on the platform. So moving ahead, well, I hope everyone had a great session. Like everyone enjoyed the session and got a good grip. One moment, please. Okay, somebody has a question, it seems.
Good morning. Myself is Amit Sharma. I'm representing WLF here. First, I'd like to congratulate all involved in creating this platform, which I believe will be more useful once it becomes popular and more robust. So what I'd like to say, this is basically a decision-making system, a support system. So a decision can be as reliable as the data is, or how robust the data is. So the carefulness or the security of the entire functioning, that's what I would like to see, is it's based on cloud. So the first question is, how secure is it in today's world? Number one. Number two, it's dependent on data. So how reliable or robust are our data? We cannot work with unreliable or inefficient or something that is too dynamic in today's world. We also have to be dynamic to create these decisions. So these are my few observations that in this dynamic world, this is going to be very helpful, but we ourselves needs to be sure how secure our environment based on which we are taking our decisions, or how reliable or robust is the data. But the starting is great, and I hope the government of Assam will take it up and make it as secure and as useful as possible for all stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your question. And these are the two valid points. And we are actually taking this into account for data security, following all the guidelines of the data policy which the government has given. Even the AWS cloud is stored in India because we have to follow the policies. We are also following the policy of our own research and the research way, so that there is an optimization of data where we follow all the policies. And in terms of data updation and liability of data, this is where we are using satellite data also to re-verify and check. This is where I was showing the location, if the location is actually at the ground or not. And we are regularly updating the data, and that's where we also ask the support of our data partners and stakeholders to share the data with us so that the platform is most recent and up to date.
Yeah, if anyone else has any questions, you can go ahead, please. Okay, then I guess we can move on. So I hope everybody had a great time and this was a great session. I hope that everybody got a good grip of the Energy Access Explorer and what it's all about and how we can achieve greater goals by using this as an efficient tool in planning out the developmental works done by the public institutions. We have been working hard on this project and we would like Assam to own it and to take it as an integrated tool for planning purposes. Finally, I would like Mr. Mrinal Krishna Chaudhary to come forward and deliver his closing remarks. Mr. Chaudhary is the director of Assam Energy Development Agency and has been serving the agency since 1988. This event would not have been possible without the immense support of him and IDA. So I would be glad if he would speak about IDA's role in promoting renewable energy space in Assam and how he sees EAE integrating with IDA's ongoing future endeavors. Sir, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone, sir, near sir, sir, and Varnali ma'am, and the August gathering in today's one of the very important session, which has recently been almost over on the energy database. Say thank you WRI for collaborating with Assam Energy Development Agency with regard to this whole platform, on launching this whole platform in Assam to make available a reliable database which will help undoubtedly all the planners in execution of projects, in monitoring it, as well as sustaining it. It's very easy to install a system, but it's very difficult in making it sustain till its entire life, because we have come across a number of issues later on. I think this platform will also take into account of that. Through the whole journey of renewable energy, we from Assam Energy Development Agency, we started as a part of ASTEC, Assam Science, Technology and Environment Council in 1988. And I'm very fortunate enough to be there in this organization since its inception. Since in 2002, we transformed the energy cell of the Science and Technology Council to Assam Energy Development Agency as a mandate of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. So we came out as an independent entity, but under the same umbrella of the Science and Technology and Climate Change Department. And we have seen the whole journey, how renewable energy, solar energy, wind energy has been in this country, particularly in this state of Assam, how it has come through. So it gives us a real opportunity to feel how the renewable energy journey has taken place in the state of Assam. Starting with very small equipments, a home lighting system, a solar lantern,
or might be a very small solar pump. How this whole journey has taken place, and now we are thinking of about say 3,000 megawatts of solar energy being implemented in the state of Assam. It's really a proud privilege to be a part of this whole exercise, from just a minuscule, might be a 5-watt solar lantern to a 3,000 megawatt of solar electricity, which is being taking place in the state of Assam. Neeraj Verma sir, in his introduction, he has given us an overview of the entire scenario, what the power department is doing and what the power department is planning to do. What is the position where this state of Assam is there, where the demand is actually about 2,400 megawatts, but we have our own generation limited to about 300 megawatts. And we have to depend on other states, as well as he has highlighted on the RPO obligation, which has been made mandated for us to generate renewable energy, to generate solar energy, and how we are trying to cope with that. And with the coming up of these 3,000 megawatts, which is being planned, and 3-4 big plants have already been commissioned within last 2 months. 2 25 megawatt plants have been commissioned a few days back. The 60 megawatt plant in Amburi, that's also been commissioned. It's a very nice step which is being taken by the state government, which is being taken by the planners of the state to make, to bring renewable energy, to bring solar energy to the mainstream. And it's very important that the WRI's platform, which is being launched, will help us in planning the whole scenario of renewable energy. Not only renewable energy, might be, it will help us in analyzing the demands. It will help us in analyzing the flaws which we have been coming through, and how to encounter with them, how to cope with them. Rakesh Kumar sir also, during his deliberation, he has given us an overview of how we are going to manage in the coming future, in the coming days, through this renewable energy, through the conventional power, as well as the renewable energy. And a very important step which the state is coming ahead with is putting up floating solar plants with zero cost of energy of land. And today, in fact, I think mission has already been deputed to South Assam for exploring the possibility over there. And we from Assam Energy Development Agency, we did a very small experiment on floating solar plant. Very small floating solar plant, a 10 kilowatt plant, was first initiated about 2 years back in Morigaon in Porbandha, where it was put up in a fishery pond where 20 households were electrified in the neighborhood, and about 14-15 street lights were provided. And the most important thing in that small project was that it was used for aerating the water of the pond. Once you aerate the water of the pond, the productivity of the pond in terms of fish production, it increases. And it's a very positive aspect. And seeing this, the state government has given us another 10 of them to do, and till date we have completed 9 of them. These are basically for aeration of fishery ponds, or providing electricity to the neighborhood, putting up 10 kilowatt solar plants, and each of them are working very fine till now. Because if it's near a water body, the temperature is less, the production of energy is more. Because earlier we used to think that Assam, being the northeastern part of the country, the generation is very less. But the most important thing is that once the temperature is less, the solar power generation is more. The best place to generate solar power is in Ladakh, where it is a clear sky, no interference, atmospheric interference, temperature is low, diffuse radiation is also more. But in Rajasthan, temperature is very high. There's a lot of dust. But we are of the notion that it will be, production there will be high. But we are no far less, we are not away from that. For on an average, Here we generate about 60.5 units per kilowatt of installed capacity at least. So it's a very good sign. I think the whole scenario of the planning which has taken place in the field of renewable energy will really be very encouraging for the entire country to follow what Assam is doing. With regard to this platform, recently I have been to one of the meets of all the state nodal agencies which took place in Cochin 3-4 days back. And there, in fact, when I discussed this issue with a few of my counterparts from Manipur, from Nagaland, from Arunachal, and they were very keen and eager enough to be a part of this whole exercise. So immediately I informed WRI, and they are in touch with these organizations. I think few of them might be online also, viewing this whole the meeting. And in fact, this is the basic necessity for us to plan out how we are strategizing the installation of either renewable energy or in the field of energy. It's also very encouraging to see the feedbacks which has been given by a number of participants. Rebecca was there, Rupak was there, Raju sir was there, and to find what actually they need. And in fact, WRI will take into consideration of the concern of each and every of these, say, participants and try to frame the whole, say, setup in such a way so that it becomes beneficial to each and every one of us. Not necessarily we keep confined to energy only. It might also lead another, open up another window for agriculture. In fact, La Madhuri ma'am, who is the Secretary of Science and Technology, she was here earlier in the morning, but unfortunately she could not be a part of this meeting. She had to rush for an emergency meeting which has come up. And there she discussed about the potential of this the whole exercise with the WRI people. She has given some thoughts and shared some thoughts and given some ideas. I think WRI people will take this into consideration. And with this, I welcome WRI to be a partner with AIDA to make this whole exercise very fruitful. As Amit has said, the data should be very secure, it should be reliable, because if it is, the whole exercise is planned on some fictitious data, it will be very difficult. So genuineness and the robustness of the data are also very important. I think it is being taken into consideration, and I wish you all the best so that we can make the best use of this platform for the benefit of the state. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for those closing remarks. So with this, we would like to conclude our session, and I hope everyone had a great time. And I would be thankful for all the people who are joining online as well. So I would request everyone who was present out here to join us for lunch, and it's present outside. So please join us for lunch. And thank you. So,
Or say stop.